I will just brief and overview about the liver on three-dimensional view, right? So when we study about the liver, we have to some objectives. So whenever we study the liver, objectives uh, after the study. So that is the reason whenever we see the liver anatomically, one should have where exactly this liver is located. That is most prime important thing. So that is the reason we to call location of the liver. And second thing, the liver. So as I told, it is a wedge. We can't say exactly it is an rectangular shape, triangular shape. Different. The wedge shape means it is tilted here and there, and it is ill-defined borders, and surfaces are not so prominently. Hence, at the end of the liver, you should be gather how the features of the anatomical features of liver will be. And anatomical features into for study purpose. Yes, this is the because of those demarcation, it is right side and left side. So those division what used to do, so that different division is used called function and anatomical divisions of the liver. So that also one should keep in our mind whenever we demo, whenever we give the demonstration of that particular liver, we should know how what are the subdivisions of the liver. As you know, the liver is a huge organ, definitely no doubt in that, which is situated in the abdomen. And after knowing the location and its anatomical features and subdivisions, where this particular liver is guarded, and I mean to say where exactly the location along with the what are the supports of this particular liver which holding in a proper position, that is we used to call support of the liver. And as soon as you come to know that these are the supports and what are the relations along with the liver is, it's very important. And these are the main 5 features one should know during the demonstration of the liver. That is location of the liver, anatomical features of the liver, functional and anatomical subdivisions of the liver, support of the liver, and relations of the liver. I request you to you uh, take a pen and notebook with you, because few things I would like to enhance and explain about the liver, especially support and subdivisions of liver. You write down, and there will be these are the 2 questions are the 5 marks question in the theory examination. Rather than the most important thing is 99% if liver you will get in a practical examination. So these features definitely asked by the external examiner, and so you have to write down these points. I will explain. uh, so let us go ahead. What are the other features now? After these five main components, any organ you should be able to explain what is the blood supply that particular organ, what is the lymph nerve supply, and what is the lymphatic drainage of that particular organ. The same thing we have to follow over here also. So blood supply, nerve supply, and lymphatic drainage. And after collecting all these points, then your aim should be what are the correlations, what are the clinical findings, how liver can be assessed anatomical to clinically, anatomical to surgically. So that is the reason one must and should have a knowledge of how to handle the liver, a normal liver, and how to handle with the clinical correlated liver is. Hence today we are going to discuss about the liver demonstration along with its clinical importance, right? So as we'll study the liver is exactly, so this is how liver is located. So one should know about the general features of the liver. And this is the largest gland in human body. Largest gland in human body. It contains both exocrine and endocrine. So the largest, when I say sometime it may be the second largest. The reason is the biggest gland in the body is skin. After that, this is the second largest organ which is present in the body, that is the liver. And approximate weight of this, some standard book they have mentioned about in the male liver weight is around 1500 to 1800 grams, and some books they have mentioned about 1500 to 2000 grams. Approximately it is 1500 to 1600 grams on an average of a male, adult male, right? When it compresses about, when you totally measured, so usually we used to say that this, it compresses 2.5% of the total body weight. Whatever weight of weight taken by the liver is measured, right? In a the mature fetus or a developed fetus, it may even serve as hemopoietic organ. Remember, this is very important. It means the formation of blood takes place. The mature fetus, it means the during development of the fetus in the mother womb, this is the organ where it produces the blood, or the hemopoietic, or that is the reason it is also called hemopoietic organ. Except fat, all the nutrient from the GIT is absorbed through the portal system, and it goes to liver. This is how the absorption which is taken from the intestine, then it goes to liver. So this is that is the reason it is one of the most largest metabolic organ also it is used for, right? And the water absorption when it goes to liver, channel is there that is used for portal system. That is anatomically really very important, where connection between the intestine with the GIT with the your liver is through the portal circulation system, right? Then livers, as biochemical, physiologically when we discuss, it stores the glycogen and secretes bile for emulsification. That is option of fat used for. So that is one of the most important anatomical feature of this liver is concerned, right? So the location of the liver is concerned. So this particular liver, where exactly is located? So just you see this. This is a complete lung. I've shown this is the three-dimensional figures. Please remember that. And lung below we have shown there is a liver, and this liver between the lungs there is a organ is used to call diaphragm. So this diaphragm divides this complete trunk. This trunk divided into above thoracic and below abdomen by means of the diaphragm. It means the diaphragm dividing the abdomen and below thorax above. So exactly from right to superiorly, from tilt to the left, half of the part which is covered by the upper portion is the liver. So hence location of the liver, say, so mainly it's abdomen is divided into 9 quadrants. So that 9 is divided into of one is, so this is line, both the side we have taken, and on in this subcostal line, and there is a tubercle line. This is used to call the 3 lines we have divided. When we do the 2 vertical lines in between the mid clavicular line and 2 horizontal line, at the time the whole abdomen is divided into 9 quadrants. So this 9 quadrants, the upper portion, this particular portion we used to call right hypochondric, middle is epigastric, and this is left hypochondric. The chondrum is nothing but pertaining to the ribs. Below the ribs, this structure, abdominal structure is hypochondrum. So that is the hypochondrum, and in the middle that is we used to call epigastric. and the two horizontal, the upper horizontal line above, these are the three, and below the upper horizontal line have, there is a right lumbar, left lumbar, and there is an umbilicus. This is umbilical. These are the three quadrants which are present in the middle, and when below the inferior line or whatever the horizontal plane we used to take, where we divide the three, and that is right iliac fossa, left iliac fossa, and hypo. So these are the quadrants where liver is exactly situated are located in the abdomen, this most upper right side, which is maximum, which is occupied in the right hypochondrial region, and partially it is even situated in the epigastric, and partially it is even extending up to the left hypochondric liver. It means the mainly situated the also the partially it is extending in the epigastrium, and partially even the lobe is extending up to and the ribs. When we take this particular right side liver is undercovered by 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th rib. So 7th to 8th ribs are covering over this ribs covering the liver, right hypochondriac. So that is the reason in relation to the when we use the word hypochondriac in relation of the right side, which is occupying 7th to 11th side, or else say this is in right hypochondriac and epigastric region is the location of your liver is. Please write down location of the liver is in hypochondriac. It is in right hypochondriac, and partially it is epigastric and left hypochondriac. In to the right side, 7th to 11th ribs, 7 to 11th rib, it is undercover the ribs. So in relation to the ribs, right? So the location of the liver. First, mainly it is right hypochondriac and epigastric, even partially it is extending left hypochondriac. So liver mainly situated in the right hypochondriac, partially epigastric, partly in the left hypochondriac. In relation to the rib, 7 to 11th ribs comes in relation to the right side, or right costal margin, which is enclosing the liver towards. Now, this is how exactly the three dimension which I have shown here. So we can divide the liver for study purpose. We can divide the liver and we can study how this liver will divide into lobes. And so for study purpose, when we have divided this liver is mainly two lobes. This is a major one is, which is by means of this particular white part. Towards the right side is the right lobe, and towards the left side is the left lobe of the liver is, right? Remember, just and before dividing this liver into two, or else dividing into different quadrants, I would like to emphasize there is a support of the liver is. So this is very important, because how this liver is guarded in the whatever the location we have discussed in the epigastric region, or else in the abdominal cavity, or else in the 7 to 11th of right hypochondriac region, how this liver is exactly guarded, how it is holded. And for that reason we have divided mainly two supports, that is primary and secondary support. Please write down the supports of the liver is primary supports and secondary supports. The primary supports are inferior vena cava. The primary supports are inferior vena cava. So this is inferior vena cava, which is pierced exactly This is how inferior vena cava is pierced exactly within the lobe of the liver. It means this particular inferior vena cava which holds the liver in a proper position. It is a primary support. It's very important. Whenever there is a question is asked to you, the supports of the liver, you must and should, at least if you not remember secondary, but at least you should remember about the primary supports. The primary supports, the first and foremost is the IVC, inferior vena cava support is very important, right? And second is along with that there is an hepatic vein which is there exactly within this particular portal area, that is we used to call porta hepatis. So that is one. Along with that we have, there is a coronary ligaments. So this is we used to call, there is a coronary ligament. So this particular ligament is a your peritoneum, which is enclosed in the superior surface of the liver, and it is towards the right side and left side. So we used to call right side right coronary ligament, left side left coronary ligament. That particular encloses the liver either side, and above it is attached to the diaphragm. So that is the reason this particular coronary ligament, right and left coronary ligaments, are placed very important to hold the liver in a proper position. And that particular coronary ligament, when it holds to the above to the diaphragm, so that part of the diaphragm or that part of the peritoneum is used to call hepatodiaphragmatic ligament, is also called hepatodiaphragmatic ligament. When we talk about the modification of the, so the primary supports are inferior vena cava and that is right and left, and three important are primary ligaments which holds the liver in a proper position, that is inferior vena cava, hepatic veins, coronary and triangular ligaments, right? So this, then what are the secondary supports? When you come to the secondary supports, this is very important. The secondary support not directly by the any ligament or not directly by the any important relations of the abdominal cavity, but it's very important to know about the relation of the liver which is present exactly nearby. Those are the secondary supports to the liver. Those are the right kidney, which is just the right side, which is situated, right kidney, colon angle, the right colon, that is hepatic flexure we used to call. So that is the second one, and duodeno-pancreatic complex we used to call. These are also the inferior relations of. So those are also the maintaining the supports to the secondary supports to the liver. That those are right kidney, right colonic angle is also called hepatic flexure, and pancreatico-duodenal complex is there. So where all the three contents will be there, along with the tertiary supports attachment of the liver to the anterior abdominal wall and diaphragm with the falciform ligament. Now the upper portion from here to here, the completely which is covered enclosed by the your diaphragm, which is also one of the major component which holds. When you come to the anterior margin, at the time the anterior abdominal wall, the organs which are situated posteriorly are the posterior relations, and they protect the liver in a proper position posteriorly. And the right side superiorly and left side, it is by means of the diaphragm, and interiorly by means of your anterior abdominal wall. So those are the in the form of muscular or in the form of cartilaginous or in the form of cage, rib cage. So this is completely how anteriorly it is gardening the liver. It means the whole all these contains which supports the liver to hold in a proper position, and the supports of liver is very important. One must and should, and they have to divide it, that is the primary and secondary supports. Primary support is inferior vena cava, hepatic veins, coronary or triangular ligaments, both the right and left. And when you come to the secondary supports, that is the right kidney, right colonic flexure, or is also called the curvature of the hepatic curvature of the large intestine, and duodeno-pancreatic complex, and the tertiary supports along with the anterior abdominal wall and diaphragm. That is the most important secondary contents of the supports of your liver is concerned. Now, when you so this is about the location and support of the liver is concerned. Now we are moving towards the real anatomy of the liver is. What are the anatomical features of this particular liver is concerned? So when you see, as I have told, so there are different surfaces we have. This is not a proper in a position. That is the reason it is we used to call wedge shape, right? So hence that is the reason for study purpose the surfaces, and we have divided accordingly. It means the mainly we have divided the surface. So this from here to here, which comes in relation to the diaphragm. So that it is as diaphragmatic surface. Right? Whereas this lower, all this particular area, it is in relation to the all the remaining viscera of the abdomen. That is the reason we used to call visceral surface. Now the diaphragmatic surface, which is so this is from here to here, this is the diaphragmatic surface, which is over here. So in relation to the diaphragm, that is we used to call diaphragmatic surface, right? Now, not only the diaphragm, it even extends this anterior surface also. So this is anterior surface. So this is superior surface of the your liver, and this is right surface of the liver. Now what happens? The right surface, superior surface, and anterior surface, it comes in relation to the diaphragm. So that is the reason we used to call diaphragmatic surface, or else these are also called in relation to the liver, superior surface, anterior surface, right surface, right? Now, rather than we have a visceral surface. Visceral surface is nothing but the inferior surface. This is the inferior marginal area, so which comes in relation to the different viscera of the abdomen. That is the reason it is also called visceral surface. Now what happens? So this is inferiorly, as well part is tilted towards posteriorly. And show this is how this upper part is posteriorly and this lower part is inferiorly. That is the reason this particular surface is used to call posterior inferior surface, and this particular is used to call antero, or that is a superior anterior surface, and superior right and anterior surface. It means this particular whole area which is we are observing, that comes in the diaphragmatic area or diaphragmatic surface, and this whatever the visceral surface we are observing, it is divided into, this is posterior surface and inferior surface. This is how it is divided into mainly two surfaces, that is diaphragmatic and visceral surface. Diaphragmatic is also divided into anterior, right and superior surface, whereas the visceral surface is divided into posterior and inferior surface. As I have told, mainly we have the two lobes, right and left lobe. Now what happens? The major right and left lobe, and there will be a when we talk major, then there will be an accessory lobes. So the right and left lobe, these are the major lobes, right, which is divided by means of this particular ligament, which will discuss on. These are the two lobes. When you go to the posterior inferior surface, this particular right lobe, which is huge, which even divided twice, right? This is a small one upper portion, and the small another one is a lower portion. So this we used to call functionally two more lobes are there. So this is we used to call accessory lobe. So this is we used to call caudate lobe, and this is lobe. Caudate is caudate, caudate, and this is quadrate, quadrate. Quadrate. It means C is above, Q is below. C in ABC, C comes first. That is the reason, and Q comes last. That goes to lower down. This is how we have to remember caudate lobe and quadrate lobe, right? Major lobes are right, and this is right, and this is left lobe, and there is a the accessory lobe is used to call caudate and quadrate lobe. These are the two lobes which are present in the posterior inferior face, and this is demarcation of these two accessory lobes is not perfect because it is anatomically divided. It is physiologically is completely inculcated within the right. And when we study about the surfaces, when we study about the lobes, and it is one should know that what are the surfaces divided by, means what are the borders, means the surfaces extending are the demarcated area one must and should. So when we have studied, this is the superior surface, sorry, this is anterior surface, this is superior surface. We don't have, see there is a border which is dividing the anterior and superior surface. What happens? So this particular border is ill defined. The same thing, the anterior surface to the right surface is also the particular border is ill, where there is a sharp from superior to till the right border. So there is a sharp border. So this border we used to call inferior border. The inferior border is the only one border which is very much in the liver, rather than the other borders are the ill-defined borders. Those ill-defined borders according to the location we used to call. So this is right surface to the posterior inferior surface, which is dividing by means of there is an ill-defined border. For example, from right surface to the anterior surface, so there is an ill-defined border. From anterior surface to the superior surface, there is an ill-defined border. This is the reason you may, whatever you want to say, you can say anterior superior border, anterior right, the right to anterior border. Border, the posterior inferior border, this is exactly the border which is dividing from the upper surface to below inferior surface, the ill-defined border which is dividing like this. So this is the ill-defined border. You can easily mention that from surface to surface, what are the demarcated area is dividing, that is we used to call ill-defined borders, right? Now, moving towards the, if you go to the diaphragmatic surface of the liver is concerned, this particular lobe is tilted like this. Lobe is tilted almost like this. So which is making a dome, right? So exactly in relation to the right surface to superior surface, the right part of the diaphragm is forming a dome shape. That within that dome shape, so this particular lever is large, right? Lever is, and almost the concavity of that particular diaphragm, the convexity part of this particular lever situated within the inferior surface of that particular diaphragm. So this lever is goes and attaches, and when you come to this exactly in the mid part, so there is separation between these two lobe by means of, this is we used to call there is a particular ligament divides the lobe into right and left side, right? It means the diaphragm which is comes in exactly in relation to the dome of the liver, or a dome of the diaphragm within the liver is situated. So what happens, the partially towards the right side attachment is within the dome shape, and this particular left lobe will goes to the flattened part of the part of the your diaphragm, that is the inferior surface or abdominal surface of the liver. Your diaphragm will be the liver relation will be. So that is how the diaphragmatic surface of the liver, which is exactly connecting to the diaphragm or in relation to the diaphragm which is situated, and where exactly the peritoneum which is attaching enclosing the liver, also that peritoneum goes and attaches to the diaphragm, which divides the lobes of the diaphragm into two major, that is the right and uh, left lobe. Now what happens, this particular peritoneum, when it reflects within the dome of the particular liver and in between the two lobes, this is we used to call, there is an furrow, that furrow is used to call fissure, right? This particular fissure is divided into two lobes. Within that fissure, so there is a ligament is used to call ligamentum, that is falciform ligament, and this falciform ligament extends towards lower down, that is we used to call ligamentum teres, right? Remember, dear students, it's very important. The upper part, that peritoneal folds which is enclosing in the form of right and left coronary ligament, the same ligaments when it enters in the deeper part of the liver, which divides into two halves, so that is used to call, anteriorly we used to call ligament, falciform ligament. The same ligament extending towards the lower down, the part of the peritoneum, is used to call ligamentum teres, right? Right and left coronary ligament, this is falciform ligament, and extending towards the ligamentum teres, right? Now this is how you can say this is the right coronary, left coronary ligament, and this is falciform ligament, and this is extending below is ligamentum teres. And this is the important thing, the ligament is guarding or holding the liver in a position. Now when this particular portion of the ligament which is holding, we have shown in relation to the lobes, but the same thing when peritoneum is then completely, it is enclosing over here, so this part of the trunk is used to call, where the costodiaphragmatic rhesus we use. Now what happens, this particular area, when this particular area, I will show you. So here there is a diaphragm, and this is how the trunk, and in relation to the, so these are the ribs will be there, so these are the ribs, right? So what happens, so there is a lung and there is a pleura, right? Now what happens, the lung and diaphragm, which extends towards down, so this particular area we used to call diaphragmatic recess, we used to call. And this is very important to know that the diaphragmatic recess, right? So I'm explaining this, the important, whenever there is an accumulation of the content exactly over here, that may be the we must and should assess exactly in relation to the particular ribs or intercostal spaces, right? The reason is, whenever we clinically are we approach to the liver, particular area must and should be, one must and should remember this important, easily to reach the low of that particular liver is. Now when we diaphragmatic face of the liver are served, is also called the to and study exactly what. So that is along with the ventral mesenteries. Now this is how the subphrenic area we used to call, whereas hepatorenal recess is a part of the peritoneal cavity. The peritoneal cavity which is covering anteriorly, and the in relation to the liver and kidney, there is the behind the liver there is a peritoneum, and this is complete peritoneum is enclosing the liver, but liver is kidney is not covering the peritoneum posteriorly, means that is an extra peritoneal organ. The kidney is extra peritoneal and liver is intraperitoneal. Means the in between the two organs, that is liver and kidney, the peritoneum is entering. That part of the peritoneal and peritoneum in between the liver and kidney, that recess is used to call hepatorenal recess, right? So that is most prominent towards the right side when compared to left side. That left side is a partially which is covering rather than the complete kidney. Most of the area is hepatic or related to the hepatic area contained of the inconcentration kidney, right, along with the suprarenal glands. Now there is some important thing. There is a bare area of the liver, bare area which represents towards especially the inferior area. There is a bare area. Now what is the area, what it represents? The bare area means the whatever the peritoneum which is covering the liver and forming the different ligaments, and some part of the potential space of this particular liver is not enclosed by the that particular part of the peritoneum. That is the reason this particular area is used to call bare area. Now that those particular bare areas used to call, this is the inferior vena cava, right? That inferior vena cava, when it is comes into the parenchyma of the liver, that area is not covered by the your peritoneum to the liver. So that is inferior vena cava bare area, right? And this is the gallbladder. So this is exactly the within the tissue of the liver. So this is lodged within the liver. So hence this is also called bare area for gallbladder. Now there is a port. Port means something is passing inside or coming outside the portal area. So this is used to call porta hepatis. Porta hepatis, right? Port is airport, right? Something means coming and going outside. A port, right? Harbor's port, that is coming out. The same thing, the porta hepatis. The port is where the structure, it means biles coming out, artery is going inside, and hepatic artery vein is also coming outside. So those are the three important structure exactly which is over here, the entrance of the or exit of the liver. So that is also which is not covered by the your peritoneum. That is also called bare area. Rather than that, so this particular part, superior part of the liver, which is hanging, where the coronary ligament goes and attaches above to this particular part of the diaphragm. Now what happens, this part of the diaphragm along with this upper part of this particular area, which is not covered by the your peritoneum. So this is we used to call superior part of the bare area of the liver. So these are the bare, how the bare area of the liver is present. And as far as already we know the ligaments of the liver, please write down, dear students, it's very important. Ligaments of the liver, so that there is a falciform ligament towards present in the anteriorly, which divides into right and left. One is first is falciform ligament. The second is anterior coronary ligament, and there is a posterior coronary ligament. And the covering between these two, that is we used to call a round ligament, right? And so exactly in the posterior side towards the venosus, there is a ligamentum venosum, right? And this ligamentum falciform ligament continues as ligamentum teres, and there is lesser omental has two parts. What is that lesser omental? This particular area, lesser omental part is the, this is hepatogastric and hepatoduodenal ligaments. It means the dividing in the upper portion goes to stomach or gastric, and lower portion goes to duodenum. That part of the ligament we have divided into lesser gas, that is hepatogastric and hepatoduodenal ligaments. So these are the ligaments of the liver. No, this is the visceral surface of the. So this is the ligament. How exactly? So this is the bare area, superior bare area. This is the right coronary, and left coronary is also called anterior and posterior fold of this particular anterior posterior fold of the. And this is falciform ligament, continuous as coronary ligament. The same side in the posterior, that is used to call ligamentum venosum, right? Now, surface. Superior and anterior surface we have discussed and its relation. Now this is the inferior used to call the visceral surface. Now what happens? This particular demarcated area, which divides into the below is the inferior and above is the superior part of the liver is. And this particular all the parts, there is a indirect relations of the separate organs, but there is a fossa for gallbladder which is directly within the liver. Is that particular part of the organ is used to call gallbladder, and that depression is used to call fossa for gallbladder, which is present in the porta hepatis, near the porta hepatis. And now what are the relations of this particular area, inferior area of this particular? Now when we talk about this particular area, there is a big particularly percent inferior so this is ligamentum venosum towards the side, right? And as we know, this is the hepatic and bile, as well as there is a hepatic vein. Along with what happens, there is a duct which is opening into the gallbladder, that is used to call cystic duct. That is also present along with this, right? Bile duct or is also called cystic duct, right? So now when we discuss about the liver, so how this particular liver why this inferior posterior surface of the liver is used to call visceral surface? Because these are the particular area comes in relation to the different organs. That is the reason it is used to call visceral surface. For example, this the small lobe is also called the left lobe of the liver inferior surface. Maximum portion comes in relation to your stomach, right? Stomach. and lesser momentum, along there is a gallbladder relation. Sorry, this is about the duodenal relation, right? Now, the upper portion comes in relation to the anterior part of the stomach. Upper portion comes into the anterior part of this particular is into the anterior part of, and exactly somewhere else here in the lower part is the duodenal relation, right? Along with there is a mesenteric relation. And what happens towards the left side, sorry, right side? So there is a lesser momentum, and there is a exactly over here colic flexure. It means so there is a ascending colon, and there is a transverse colon exactly migrating somewhere else here. So that particular area is comes in relation to exactly over here, that is we used to call right colic flexure, and the partially the same is the transverse colon moves along with like this. The transverse colon is also, and so there is a relation of a right kidney over here. Sorry. So there is a right kidney comes in relation to the lower inferior part, and along with there is a suprarenal gland. So this is how the mesenteric area, right colic flexure or hepatic flexure along with the right transverse colon, and there is a right renal anterior surface, and there is a suprarenal gland along with the omen. This is all. Along with this, we have duct, gallbladder, inferior vena cava, and these are the viscera which are comes exactly over here. Those are the viscera which is present in the inferior posterior surface of the liver. That is the reason this is used to call visceral surface of the liver is concerned. And as you know, this is the fossa for the gallbladder is situated. From there, the same neck of the gallbladder, the cystic duct goes and pierces the porta hepatic. Right? Now, fissures. Moving towards the fissures. So the fissures, which is we used to call umbilical. So this is the fissure, which is exactly running like this. So there is a fissure, right? So this is left fissure. We all call left fissure. The reason is this is the umbilical cord, which is dividing to left lobe to right lobe, right? And there is a this is right fissure. This particular we used to call right sagittal fissure, where the inferior vena cava content will goes towards the left side and goes towards the right side, right? So that is exactly the caudate lobe and the right lobe. Now what happens? The caudate lobe and caudate lobe, in between there is this particular portion is used to call porta hepatis. So this is caudate lobe and this is quadrate lobe. In between there is a opening is used to call porta hepatis. And what happens? The right fissure, it is not only extending in the upper portion, it even extends below between the right lobe and quadrate lobe. So that is also how this particular fissure is dividing into right and left lobe. So we may say this particular fissure is porta hepatis fissure. This is the right fissure, and this is the venosal fissure, or left fissure is also called umbilical fissure, right? So these are the fissures which are present exactly in between the lobes of the liver, right? And this actually forms exactly for the round ligaments, where the ligamentum venosum is forming, where what happens from the inferior vena cava. So there is a ligament which is enclosing the inferior vena cava, which goes towards the caudate lobe, enclosing the caudate lobe, moves towards the caudate lobe, where the communication between hepatic vein, the inferior vena cava, and the caudate lobe, the ligament is enclosing the inferior vena cava, which goes towards the caudate lobe, enclosing the caudate lobe, moves towards the caudate lobe, where the communication between hepatic vein, the inferior vena cava, and the caudate lobe is the lobe, there is a exactly like this. I will show you in the as. So what happens from the inferior vena cava? So which will goes exactly like this and comes like this. So there is one more commission. Now this is how exactly the vein is corresponding from the inferior vena cava to the porta hepatis, and which comes exactly within the that particular content. It is used to call ligamentum venosum or ductus venosus, and this will be persistent in the developing fetus and remains. It will become remnant. This particular part will become remnant after the birth. That is we used to call ligament. Ductus venosus is used to call uh, ligamentum venosum in the uh, development. This is we used to call umbilical vein, which ultimately drains into the porta hepatis, right? Porta, as we know, there is a portal triad in histopathologically. Those portal triad is nothing but an. So there is a cystic duct which is entering is in the form of bile passage, and there is a hepatic artery which is directly draining into over here, and there is the portal vein. All these three contain extending each and every cellular element of the your segment of the liver. So that is the reason the porta hepatis region or portal triad. So these are the main channels which enters inside the liver. Right? Now, as we know, those are the two accessory levers, that is caudate and caudate lobe. That is not functionally they are along with the right lobe only, and anatomically there are two projection because of the recesses and ligamentum venosum bifurcation. That is the reason two projections are developed over there. So that is the accessory lobe we can anatomically be subdivided. And functionally, when you come to the subdivision liver is concerned, so there are totally 10 different lobes will divided, and according to those lobes, there is a different channels will passes exactly over that. So that segmental part of the liver, when we study the internal structure at the time, we'll definitely teach the superior aspect of the just demonstration. I'm over briefing like this, and then next when we demonstrate the liver, and we'll cut the liver and we'll show the different segments of the liver is in the. As we told, there is a portal blood flow. How the portal blood will enter inside, that is by means of the blood goes to the liver. It's mainly there is a cystic for example, main is hepatic artery, uh, that is the main branch of celiac trunk which supplies to the liver, and there is a hepatic vein which drains the liver, and there is a portal vein which is portal vein is not an deoxygenated, but this is a nutrient blood which is coming from the intestine and through the superior and inferior mesentery, the each other forms a uh, portal vein, but in different part of the liver and to the middle part, and along with it each and every parenchyma of the liver. Almost the portal vein contain 40% of the oxygen than the blood returning to the heart from the systemic circuit, whereas the hepatic portal vein contains virtually all nutrients absorbed from the eliminatory tract and to the liver, with the exception of the lipids, which is right. So this is how the absorption from the intestine to goes to the liver is. That is one of the most important thing. Um, Dear student, hepatic circulation in the development of the liver, or else in the hepatic circulation will be one more question for 5 marks question for the gross anatomy is concerned, and hepatic circulation is as far as lobular artery divides into 5 segmental artery. Those segmental artery reaches to the there is circulation circuits of the liver. So this is how the two segments, right and left lobular segment, goes to the subdivisions of that particular segmental branch, and segmental branch within the circuit of that particular unit of the liver. This supplies to the exactly in that part, right? So this hepatic vein is follows to the artery, ultimately drains into the inferior vena cava, and the portocaval anastomosis is an actually it's not comes under the demonstration, but still I request you to read the portocaval anastomosis because developmentally it is, and as far as after the circulation, how the particular veins attachments between the there are multiple. There is the inferior vena cava veins is anastomosing with the hepatic veins along with the abdominal veins, along with the there is a multiple splenic intestinal veins. So these all the veins interconnected with each other, along with there is an umbilical vein during. So we will discuss. There is a separate class for you, and the study about that. That is also one must and should. As far as nerve supply of the liver is concerned, the parasympathetic supply by the postganglionic fibers of a vagus nerve, no doubt in that. Vagus is the parasympathetic, whereas the sympathetic innervation to this particular liver is by postganglionic fibers of the celiac trunk. That is the celiac plexus we used to call. And the lymphatic drainage is concerned, the liver is drained by mainly the upper surface of drain into the posterior mediastinal lymph nodes, whereas the lower segment of the liver is drained by the hepatic nodes, and there is the colic nodes of the, those are directly drains into the lymphatic innervation of the liver is concerned. Now the clinical correlations are important is concerned. The palpation of the liver is very important. So if normal liver is not at all palpated per abdominally, whereas the abnormal liver along with the right postal margin, in relation to this 7th to till the 11th, the right coastal margin, if you palpate, so the abnormal liver exactly the inferior border extends towards the umbilicus. So when you palpate from the umbilicus towards the right coastal margin, so automatically you will get the edge of the inferior border of the your liver. So that can be palpated easily. If at all you want to, you just fingertip examination we used to call, keep the palm on the abdomen and hit with the one finger of the right hand. So then you'll feel the dull sound and resonant sound. Those sound may differentiate the enlargement of the liver. That will be teach properly in the clinical examination, or else during the physiology examination per abdomen you may definitely assess. And there is a subphrenic abscess is nothing but an below the that is exactly below the diaphragm. There will be a formation of collection of pus will take place. That is we used to call subphrenic abscesses is very common. So these maybe the cause is peritonitis, maybe result in the formation of localized abscesses. That collection of purulent exudates exactly the within the or the pus exactly in the subchronic abscess. So that can be drained by taking a particular incision of the inferior to the through the bed of the 12th rib, and we can easily reach the liver, and we can do the removal of that particular part of the pus. So phrenic. Hepatic lobectomy. So if partially we want to divide that particular lobe, so we can directly remove the one. If the particular lobe is defected, we can remove this. So one particular lobe can be removed. That is we used to call partial lobectomy, or hepatic lobectomy, or segmentectomy we used to call. Rupture of liver, it is accidental hit may leads to the rupture of the liver, may you seen so many cases, and that is leads to profuse bleeding, and may leads to the uh, lacerations of, and leads to considerable hemorrhage, severe hemorrhage, and the right upper quadrants mainly. You may directly remove that part of the liver which is damaged, and you can protect the segmentally, protect remaining part of the liver, which can be easily protected. So this is about the damage of hepatomegaly. Is the word hepato is pertaining to the liver, megaly is nothing but an enlargement of the liver. Always definitely there are several conditions, the malaria, malarial fever, or hepatitis. In that condition where the liver is enlarged, the bacterial infection, or else the congestive heart failure, and maybe the some bacterial or viral diseases where the hepatitis is very common and liver is enlarged, and if the liver is massively enlarged, that inferior edge of the may be readily palpated towards the, that is the right costal margin. So that is most important thing one must and should remember. A cirrhosis of liver, that is nothing but an the cellular damage or consequent screening accompanied by the regeneration of the nodules. That is maybe the most common cause is the alcoholic consumption, which leads to damage of the cellular element of the liver. And portal hypertension, where the metabolic end product, or the metabolic disorder of the liver, they may not absorb the that is a portal circulation is not satisfied at the time. There will be a portal circulation get retention and leads to hypertension. So that is we used to call portal hypertension of the liver is concerned. So the demonstration of this or features of the liver explained. So when you come to the department, definitely we will discuss about the liver and its functional aspect. Um, Any doubt, yes, sir?
Sir,
Okay, fine. Good day.